Hello, good evening, and welcome to TABS Life Science Academy. I'm Arpita Shamanto. Today we will learn about how gas is transported through blood. So, we all know that hemoglobin is the key factor of the red blood cell, and this is mainly made up of two group, that is heme group and another is globin group. So heme group is mainly a prosthetic group and there are mainly four subunit, two alpha chain and two beta chain, and in those chains there is a iron center which is mainly ferrous in nature, where this oxygen can bind mainly. So along with all these chains, mainly four oxygens can bind together with this hemoglobin molecule, and along this hemoglobin oxygen is called as oxyhemoglobin stage. So on the other hand, when carbon dioxide diffuses into this plasma and RBC, it mainly divides into three parts. 3% or 7% carbon dioxide remains in this plasma as a dissolved state. But 70% carbon dioxide is transported as a bicarbonate ion, and remaining 20 to 25% carbon dioxide mainly is transported via this RBC throughout this blood. So after diffusing inside this RBC, this carbon dioxide reacts with the water, and then they form this carbonic acid, and then this carbonic acid is dissociated into bicarbonate ion and hydrogen ion, and in the membrane of this RBC there is a antiporter which allow this bicarbonate ion to pass out from this RBC and allow the chloride ion insert into this RBC, and this event is mainly known as the chloride shift. And on the other hand, these hydrogen ion, when binds with the hemoglobin, they stimulates or promotes the oxygen from release from this RBC into the plasma. And other carbon dioxide, that is the 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide, directly binds with this hemoglobin, and then they are called as carbaminohemoglobin. Then, near the alveolar cell, the reverse reaction occurs here, where this antiporter allow bicarbonate ion to enter into this RBC and chloride ion pass out from this RBC. And as a result, this hydrogen ion, which mainly remain binding with this hemoglobin, they detach from it and then binds with this bicarbonate ion, and they form this carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid then diffused or dissociated into this carbon dioxide and water, and then this carbon dioxide is diffused into this alveolar cell, and then they exit from our body via this exhalation procedure. So as I say that four oxygen molecule can bind with hemoglobin, but they do not bind all together. Rather than they bind with this hemoglobin one after another. And this mechanism is mainly known as the cooperative binding of oxygen with the hemoglobin molecule. So in this mechanism, mainly one oxygen molecule facilitate another oxygen molecule in the binding with hemoglobin molecule. And in this stage, when there is no oxygen molecule with the hemoglobin, this state is mainly known as the taut state or T state. But when all four oxygen molecules remain binding with this hemoglobin, then this is known as the oxyhemoglobin, or this state is known as R state or relaxed state. So, but in the muscles, there is myoglobin which can bind with only one oxygen molecule. So, so now in this left hand side graph, if we just compare the myoglobin and hemoglobin, then we can see that in case of hemoglobin, the curve is most probably sigmoid curve or just like a logistic curve. But in case of myoglobin, it is just like a hyperparabola. So in case of myoglobin, this oxygen affinity is much higher rather than hemoglobin. On the other hand, in case of mutated hemoglobin, the oxygen affinity is much lower than the normal hemoglobin cases. So, if we consider the fetal hemoglobin and the adult hemoglobin, so in case of fetal hemoglobin, the affinity of oxygen towards the blood or towards the hemoglobin is much higher than the adult hemoglobin. So, in this case, the fetal hemoglobin curve will be left-handed, and the adult hemoglobin would be the right-handed because of this affinity. And finally, look into the external factor like carbon dioxide, hydrogen ion concentration, the concentration of 2,3 biphosphoglycerate, or temperature or pH. Then what will be the position of oxygen partial pressure curve? When the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, hydrogen ion concentration 2-3 bpg and also temperature remain high in concentration or high in condition, then this graph will be shift into this right side, and this time the affinity of oxygen for this hemoglobin will be decreased condition. But when the external factors like carbon dioxide or 2-3 bpg concentration, temperature as well as hydrogen ion concentration will be decreased condition or will be lower in concentration, but the pH of blood remain higher concentration, then this curve will be shift in this left portion, and then the affinity of oxygen for the hemoglobin will be increased. We all know that behind all the metabolic activities, a nervous system play a major role. So in this case also, pons and medulla plays the key role. So pons and medulla are the part of our hindbrain. So in this pons area, there is two main center. One is the pneumotoxic center and another one is apneustic center. So mainly this pneumotoxic center has a negative role within this medulla, but apneustic center has the positive role on it. And in this medulla section, there is mainly two group. One is the dorsal respiratory group and another one is the ventral respiratory group. So mainly this dorsal respiratory group is connected with the diaphragm in the abdomen portion, but this ventral respiratory group mainly connected with the internal intercostal muscle. That means it connected with the extra inhalation or extra exhalation procedure. So this pneumotoxic center mainly inhibited on this dorsal respiratory group, and this apneustic center has the positive effect. It mainly inhibit the pneumotoxic center, and as a result the inhibitory effect of this pneumotoxic center will be withdrawn. So that's how this nervous system play the major role to regulate our respiratory system. So this is our respiratory system. That's all. Stay tuned for our next session. Thank you.